Hey everyone, Denis Cloutier here from the ATA. And just before I send you over to the podcast, I wanted to do one final shout out to all of the sponsors that helped make the President's Ball we did on April 20th a tremendous success. I want to recognize our bronze sponsors, Color Compass, LKQ, Dormer Finishing Systems, Adhesive Templates Canada, and Town Car Rental. Our silver sponsor, BASF Canada, and our platinum sponsor of the evening, once again, same as last year, Finish Master Canada. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you for making this event a tremendous success. And without you, as we always say, we wouldn't be able to host these events. All right, now on to the podcast. Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Feather, Prime, and Talk with your representatives from the ATA. I'm Denis Cloutier. I'm the executive director of the ATA, and with us again, as always, we have Norm Bruneau, our president of the ATA. Norm, good afternoon.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
And we have Ferd Klassen, vice president of the ATA. Welcome, Ferd.
Same. I'm happy also to be included again today. Thanks.
Yeah, right on. So, hey, listen, today we are going to be talking about a few things. We've got quite a few topics today. We've got a webinar that's coming up on management systems, and there's some changes coming to the RPS program, and we really want to make sure everybody knows how to register complaints about CarPart parts. And then most importantly, we're going to talk about weld burn today, and you want to stick around for the end of this one because Norm and Ferd are going to show you how to put some more money in your pocket addressing weld burn. So with that, let's jump right into the content, everyone. All right. Let's start with just a bit of a recap on things. We had the HTA President's Ball on April 20th at the Manitoba Club. Fantastic event. Um, this was Norm's event, and we honored some Hall of Fame inductees. Les Heshka, Cecil Frund, and Mark Lowen were inducted into our Hall of Fame. And we had some politicians there. Our friend Kelvin Gertzen attended, and we had the MPI executive there, but it was a great evening. Norm, it was your ball. I want to provide what your thoughts of it were.
Yeah, it was a great evening. As we said before, that venue is just such a great place to hold these type of events and great turnout. I'm always fascinated, hearing some of the stories behind some of the people we inducted into the Hall of Fame. Just the amount of time and the contribution that they've made to the industry, and just being able to hear their story and to shake their hand and have people share other stories about them. I think it was a fantastic night. Bird.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, any chance you can get out to kind of meet some people that you've probably spoken to or emailed back and forth with, it's always a good time. Plus, we get to dress up.
Yeah, get fancy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always
And
good.
it was a big enough event. We had a message from Donald Trump for all of our attendees and the guys that went into the Hall of Fame. And unfortunately, we weren't able to show it at the event, but anybody who'd like to see the video from Mr. Trump, just reach out to me directly or just email us at the ATA. We'll make sure you get a copy.
Yeah, good for a lot.
I
Good for
want
a
to
laugh.
just absolutely yes. I want to draw attention to everybody's. If you watch your emails, you got the notice about the ATA annual industry survey that was sent out this week. Um, we just want to encourage all of our members, large or small, just to participate in that survey. And Norm, I'll pass that on to you. I know that's a bit of a passion project for you.
Yeah, it's I think anytime that we can collect some information from the industry, it just helps us as an association make sure that we're all working towards the same goals. I mean, everybody on this board is volunteering their time. They're members of the industry in one way or another, so we feel like we have a pretty good finger on the pulse. But at the end of the day, we're here for our members, so it's very, very important that we hear where's the shoe pinching at your business. So that's why this survey, it's got a lot of great questions. It addresses a lot of different parts of the business where we want to get a little bit more insight and be able to then put a plan together, whether it's a small project that we're working on with MPI or an ex LVA negotiation. We really want to have the industry's needs at the forefront, so it's super important. The other piece of that too is as a business owner, I use it myself, kind of a little bit as a benchmark to help see where my business fits into the picture. And also when working with staff, reviewing wages, working on different things, it's always nice to have a little bit of perspective. And so that's where I find that this survey is extremely helpful. So obviously, the more people we get involved, the better. So I want to encourage all our members to take the time and definitely answer the survey, put some time into it.
And this survey results
Right.
will be shared with the industry. Am I correct, Dennis?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the results are
Oh,
shared. Obviously, no individual data is shared, but it's all brought together, and I always there's always some good takeaways, so I always enjoy seeing the results of that one.
mhm.
Mhm.
Agreed.
So next we looks like we're going to expand the Feather Prime and Talk series of podcasts, and we're going to move into some webinars. Feedback from our members and giving us ideas for topics. And some of the topics might require more than a podcast, and we want to get engagement from members. So we thought we'd open it up and have a series of live webinars. And the first one we're going to do is on management systems and the importance of having a management system. Where does that fit in for you? How big does your business need to be before a management system is worthwhile? And what kind of information can it give you? So we're going to do that on May 28th. Watch your emails, and you'll see information on the webinar, exact time, how to register for it. It will be a live webinar. We'll post the recording as well, but it'll be a live webinar. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions. This webinar we'll host it, but we're going to have Auto House Technologies join us. They don't sell a management system, but they really help the ATA in gathering data from the industry. And one of the things they do is they provide us a quarterly report, which kind of benchmarks the Manitoba shops against the other provinces in Western Canada. And of course, our main interest is how do we compare with SGI or with Saskatchewan, and how do we compare with BC, because we're all government insured provinces. So they provide us a report, and there's an opportunity for shops to participate in that. And it doesn't cost anything, but it just gives so much information to the ATA and how we compare. So if you want to add anything to that, guys.
Yeah, I think having the management system is the first piece of the equation where then your data can be extracted and brought into this generis this Auto House data, which is I know Ferd has done a lot of work with Mike over at Auto House. And so yeah, it's always a tricky thing, when you own a growing business and you don't have a management system. It's hard to see the benefits until you actually get one. But what is that threshold where you think, okay, I'm ready for a management system? Because I mean, obviously there's a cost that comes with that. So it's very tricky. I would say for most people, speak for myself and probably Ferd, by the time I did pull the trigger on a management system, I thought, man, I should have done this a while ago, right? So I think the threshold is always higher in your mind before you
Yep.
get there. I've heard, I don't know if that's your experience as well.
Totally is. 2010, I believe I went and took and invested into a management system. 2011, maybe. And it's like a scoreboard at a game. You don't know how you're doing unless you can measure yourself. And that is one perfect way of doing it. And I always use the example with my staff here is parts. Like, how do you manage your parts? By the time you finish the claim and you're ready to submit it in, and you're chasing through your filing cabinet to find invoices just to find out that the parts are incorrect, pricing and stuff like that, and returns, and how are you tracking your returns. That's just one little small piece of what a management system can help you to do to alleviate time off your schedule in a week. It's just phenomenal. So I would never go back without it. You asked the question about what size you need to be. It's very, very simple. I mean, if you're close to $1 million or even $700,000 a year, you should definitely be looking at it, because you're of the volume where you're turning a lot of invoices, you're turning a lot of hours, you're turning a lot of paint materials and things like that. You got to make sure you're tracking those things. And how do you know where you need improvement? So if you're into doing better, then this would be one fantastic way for you to visibly see it.
All right. So watch your emails, and you'll see the registration link come up next week. I want to talk briefly about CarPart. And I'm sure everybody has heard through their SRAs. We've got some changes coming to the RPS program and how corrective action is going to work, possible realignment on some of the numbers. But one of the things that's come out of this conversation is, well, I'm trying to source a part, and the part said it was available, but it actually wasn't, or it wasn't the quality it was supposed to be. I tried to put a complaint in, but it didn't work, or MPI never saw it. So I talked to CarPart a week ago, and we're going to change how CarPart complaints are registered. Um, and it's all going to be done through email. We're going to send this out on our ATA email communication as well. But moving forward, we want to encourage all shops, if you have an issue with a part through CarPart, to send an email to CarPart. And we're going to put that email address in the comment section of this YouTube video. We're going to send it out on email as well. But we want everybody to don't use the CarPart complaint form. Just send it through on an email. I have been assured from CarPart that this will be registered with MPI, and then we will have some tracking on that.
Perfect.
All right. So let's move into. We always like to have some nuggets in our podcast if we can. And today we're going to talk about weld burn. We're going to let Ferd start that off, but maybe Ferd, you want to just give a little bit of update on our previous
Sure.
conversations on
Yeah,
accessories.
absolutely. And we're finding that these podcasts are an awesome avenue for us to hear from our viewers and our members. And accessories is no different. We did a podcast on how accessories are procured, how they're being paid for, generated a lot of conversation for our members. We got a lot of input. We got a lot of feedback from our customers, apologize, our members. And just so that we have an update to share, I mean, we are in conversation with MPI about it because we want to make sure that our members are heard and these topics are approached at MPI. So we are talking to them. Unsure where this will end up, but I mean, it is something that needed to be reviewed, and they're quite willing to review it with us. So no different than weld burn damage. Weld burn damage was a topic that got brought back up to us. It seems it may not be quite clear how it should be applied to the claim. So I'm just going to take a couple seconds here and just talk about some weld burn damage and how it should be applied to the claim. Norm has some examples here that he's going to use to kind of just hit this one home so that hopefully we can clear this up and shops can start applying it to their estimates a little more often. I mean, here too, I went back after this conversation was talked about, looked through some of my previous claims, and it is something that my estimators are missing. And you know, the scrubber does pick it up. So if you're using the scrubber and it's on there, you need to take a second look at your panels and make sure that you're applying the proper weld burn damage as you are entitled to. So weld burn damage, you know, when welding is required to panels adjacent to the weld, you may need to refinish these spots because when you weld a quarter panel to an inner structure, it creates a weld burn spot on the backside. So that's weld burn damage. So MPI has created a formula that we're able to use to substantiate the ask on the estimate, and there's a maximum amount that's allowed. So when you're looking at spot refinish weld burn damage, there's a maximum of 1.5 hours that you can apply to the estimate for repairing, refinishing damaged panels that are adjacent to the panel that you're asking for. So we're going to use the example of a back panel on a car. You've got multiple areas that potentially you'd be welding that back panel on. So you get your lower trunk floor edge. You've got a taillight pocket. You may have a taillight pocket that's attached to a reinforcement or a drain for the trough on the quarter panel. Technically, could be 5 separate panels, but the claim is allowed to have 1.5 hours. If you use an example of a rad support, you could potentially be welding onto multiple different parts: apron, reinforcements, upper rails, lower rails. So the 1.5 allowance is basically set up to allow you some refinish time to address those weld burn areas. Are you going to refinish that whole panel? Or are you going to spot it in? Like, it's really up to what your paint manufacturer suggests that you do. But just know that you've got the 1.5 hours allowed to you. If it's one specific area, it's a 0.5. If it's, multiple areas, you can go up to maximum of 1.5. Does that sound right, Norm?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. A couple other points to throw in there as well. So we had one of our members reach out to us. I think that's kind of what started the conversation. And he was asking about the inner on a quarter, right? So you've got an inner, so let's say right in your door opening where your outer quarter panel is being spot welded to the inner. So that inner does qualify for weld burn. So now on that quarter panel, obviously you're going to have multiple areas. You're going to have the roof, let's say, maybe a drain trough, as you mentioned, the back panel, maybe the wheelhouse, the inner rocker. No matter how you slice it up, like you mentioned, the 1.5 is the max, but you also got to be able to substantiate your ask, right? So anytime you're asking for this allowance, you need to have the pictures, not only just to prove that there was weld burn, but also to substantiate what you're asking for, right? You can't ask for 1.5 for a 6-inch area, right? It needs, there is a little bit of discretion that needs to be used there. But back to that quarter panel example, you'll probably use that 1.5 on the roof, on the back panel in the wheelhouse, right? So you don't really need to specify the other panels on the inner that you need to fix it for. How you use it is totally up to you, but it is just that it is an allowance.
Yeah, good notes, good photos. You should never have a
Yeah,
challenge.
picture's worth a million words.
Or at least $150, right?
At least, at the very least. So a couple other good points. So I was playing around in Connect yesterday and looking at the allowance and just watching when you add it on there, what changes, right? So it changes your paint material amount, but it does not change your clear coat amount, and that is by design. It is an allowance. So your clear coat, same as I guess like a feather prime and block, for example, your material, your paint material allowance will go up, but your clear coat amount does not go up. So, and that is again by design. So don't go in there and manually change it. Leave it as is. That's the way that they've designed it. So, yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I've definitely left a few things on the table when it
Mhm.
comes to that, especially understanding the inners. I think the example that you see in the standard just talks about that, in that back panel talks about your taillight pocket or your quarter on one side, or on both sides actually, and then your floor. But understanding on a panel that has an inner that allowance is still can be used there because rightfully so, there is some weld burn.
Correct. So back to estimate scrubber for those shops that are using estimate scrubber, pay attention to that line specifically, and maybe go back and speak with your estimators if they're not applying it on the estimate. It's in the estimate scrubber. It's down there, and it should be addressed. I mean, even if you can't qualify for the 1.5 every time, get what you're entitled to. I mean, that's why it was set up this way. MPI's agreed to pay at a certain rate. It's there for your taking. If you're leaving it behind, then it's just your loss. So
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do that. You're doing it anyways. You're doing the work. So
yeah,
it's just a matter of establishing a process within your workflow that's going to make sure you capture those pictures. I know for us internally, we have a check sheet that our technicians use. And when they get to that part of the repair, they take pictures, they notify our estimator. He's the one who attaches it to the claim. And it just ensures that it doesn't get left behind.
correct.
All right, great information, guys. I always like the podcast where we're putting money back in our members' pockets. I think that's just a great thing we can provide through these podcasts. And given that, hey, if you have comments, please leave us comments in the comments section. Send us an email. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and give us some ideas for future episodes. I hope everybody enjoyed this one and got some value out of it. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, take care, everyone.
Take care.